Hey, it's Andy. Jace, what? Jace. It's my cat. Hey, I'm Andy. Thank you so much for chilling with me on my night off. So I know the whole internet was shook. I mean, imagine that shocker. Our government is hiding information from us. Our government's not going to be transparent. It came as no surprise to me at all that we weren't going to find out who was on that Epstein client list. And to be honest with you, I don't know that there's an actual little black book that Jeffrey Epstein had next to his CD-ROM drives or whatever else he used to keep that compromise on all the rich, powerful, famous elites. It really didn't come as a shock to me. I think it would have been more shocking had we gotten some names, and I think if we did get some names, it would have been just some like D-list celebrities they threw out there for us in the name of acting like they were transparent. But the one thing that has concerned me is ever since we found out there was no little black book, I can't tell you the number of videos I've seen pop up, how many headlines, how many journalists I've heard pose the question, if there was no little black book, then why is Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in prison?
This could have been quieted so long ago, but no, everything was left out to, and I get it, Ghislaine Maxwell needed to be, adjudicated, but this doesn't seem to affect that.
But for what was Miss Maxwell? Apparently there wasn't a list of people being cliented in Mr. Epstein's review or the review of Mr. Epstein.
And I find that ridiculous. I followed that trial, and there were four witnesses that testified. One was Annie Farmer, the other three testified as Jane Doe's. They did not testify that they were trafficked to Alan Dershowitz, Prince Andrew, or any other elite that you want to name. They were trafficked by Ghislaine Maxwell directly to Jeffrey Epstein. So the fact that there's no little black book, it does not nullify Ghislaine Maxwell's convictions at all. And I remember when I watched that trial, her family came out saying we'll never stop believing in Ghislaine Maxwell's innocence, which of course they're going to do that. I mean, maybe it's not a given that they were going to support her, but typically your family backs you up when you're accused of some crimes. Although, talk about hashtag embarrassing. Like, if I had to be in federal court, indicted, and have my family behind me, supporting me all the way, I think sex trafficking would probably be like next to last. So anyway, when I started to see these headlines, when I started to see these pundits pop up saying, well, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? Why is she? How does her conviction stand if there is no little black book? I knew it was a matter of time before we would see her family out there sounding the trumpets to get her out of prison. And I wasn't wrong. Well, I'm here to tell Ghislaine Maxwell's family, boy, girl, you're better off putting some money on her books. You're better off trying to get her a file and a manicotti than you were trying to go on the talk shows getting her released from prison. Ain't gonna happen. She wasn't convicted of trafficking to unnamed men in the little black book. It was Epstein himself, and he ain't here to speak for himself. So sit tight, girl. You got, 19 and a half more years to serve? Speaking of women that can sit down because it's going to be a while, have you heard about this Erin Patterson from Australia? So her homegirl is in jail and was just convicted of serving up some beef Wellington to her estranged husband and his parents. She ended up killing four people. I guess that's considered a mass murder in Australia. Maybe it's considered a mass murder here. But anyway, she was convicted of killing all four of them by lacing her beef Wellington with death cap mushrooms. And the story caught my interest because as I was listening, and you have these true crime videos, and kind of one bleeds into the next. And all of a sudden I heard talk of this woman foraging for mushrooms. And I thought, that's an interesting crime. She was estranged from her husband. They were living, separate lives and in separate homes. And I think she knew she was going to lose him. And I guess she thought, if I can't have him, then nobody can. So she decided to fake that she had cancer and basically called him, he survived, and her in-laws over. So homegirl ends up taking these death cap mushrooms, I guess mixing them with some legit mushrooms, and then she served that on up. And it turns out that the estranged husband lived, I believe, and the in-laws died. So like I said, four people in total died. And it wasn't long before she became the person of suspicion. And she was caught in a whole series of lives. Like we're talking world's dumbest criminal here. It turns out these death cap mushrooms, these aren't mushrooms that you could just, well, obviously they're killer mushrooms. You probably wouldn't buy them at the grocery store. But these are mushrooms you actually have to forage for. And I said this in a short, I didn't even know forage was a word until I heard that this crazy lady was up in the woods foraging for some death cap mushrooms. In fact, all the coverage that I've watched literally takes the opportunity to mention the word forage more times than you can count.
There is one other source of death cap mushrooms. They grow wild in the area where this tragedy occurred, and it is a region known to foragers who are given warnings about what to collect.
But death caps typically grow in much smaller numbers, strongly suggesting Patterson made multiple foraging trips.
So needless to say, if someone tells me they had to forage for an ingredient in the dinner they're serving me, I'm going to think twice. Moving on to the next crime on the internet. Do you know Monica Lewinsky has a podcast? You know what's crazy to me? We have all of these like celebrities or people that would never have been celebrities. Like she was a White House intern. She was nobody special. We've had a million White House interns before her. We're going to have a million White House interns after her. But because she slept with Bill Clinton, or because she did whatever she did with Bill Clinton on that desk and left that little blue dress behind, we're now stuck with her in perpetuity. And we're stuck with her now with her new Wondery podcast. It's called Reclaiming. And I said in a short, like, what is she reclaiming? Like I said, that little blue dress. That's what she should have reclaimed. However, had she done that, we wouldn't be subject to this podcast. And I'll tell you what, I would have zoomed right past it. I probably wouldn't even have given it a listen. I've seen her come in and out of the public consciousness over the years and haven't really paid her much attention. But $Huh was on her podcast, and I love me some Kesha. I feel like Kesha can either do a fun album or a serious album, but never both. Like, Period's really good, and there are some really good, fun, trashy Kesha poppy songs on it, and then every now and then there's like a skippable on it when she tries to get like a little bit pensive or whatever. But she was on Monica Lewinsky's podcast, so I definitely wanted to give this thing a listen. And I really thought going into it, like if you had to take a podcast host and a guest and match them up, a better match was there never. So on one hand, we have a White House intern who's famous because she had an affair with the president. And then on the other hand, we have Kesha, who was famous and then became maybe a little bit infamous after her, sleazoid record producer, tried to slip a fast one on her. And I know everyone's on Kesha's side, as they should be. Everybody except Katy Perry, of course, and her 143. But I think she suffered the consequences of that. But anyway, I was really interested to see the podcast because I thought they'd have a lot to talk about. Like I thought they'd be able to each relate their experiences, and I thought we'd hear like a really good conversation, and that's not what we got at all. At the beginning of the podcast, it became very clear that we were probably going to spend like the good portion of it talking about, like, not to quote Katy Perry with the feminine divine, but like something a little bit more mystical.
Girl, are you a hippie witch too?
Oh, I am woo-woo to the core.
Me too. Have you ever been to Esalen?
In fact, Monica kicked it off by sharing a special present with Kesha, a crystal. She gives them to all her guests, but she couldn't wait to give Kesha hers at the beginning of the podcast.
Well, so I always give my guests a crystal at the end of the show just as a thank you for the exchange of energy, because it's no joke to show up to a podcast. Like, people think, oh, you just show up and have a conversation, but it's a lot of energy. And but I usually do it off camera because it feels a little performative otherwise.
Yeah.
But I was just kept being told in my head to give you yours now.
So you would think after that quick intro, once we got the rose quartz out of the way, we'd move on to that really fascinating conversation that I know the two of them can have. But no, we don't do that. 24 minutes in, we finally get to the meat and potatoes. We finally have some grist for the mill, and we glazed over it.
Post-impeachment in 1999, when sort of everything ended in a I think on the media landscape, there was still a lot happening behind the scenes, but kind of in the few years after that, and where I was trying to move forward, and then I leaned into being a public person and eventually moved away from all that, went to graduate school, and was hoping to have this more normal life. And
when it comes to Monica Lewinsky and everything that went down at that period of her life, like, I really want to know the juicy details. Like, was Hillary Clinton coming for you? Like, was Hillary Clinton having men like hide in the bushes and pray? Like, were you getting like breathy phone calls in the middle of the night and having to peer out of the blinders to see if like you were being tailed or followed? And how did the other interns treat you when they found out that you slept with the president? Did you talk to Bill Clinton after that? Did he ghost you before that? What's it like to be ghosted by a president? Like, I have all these questions. With the guest as irreverent as Kesha, I thought it would be like the perfect opportunity for her to give us some of those juicy details and have a little bit of fun with it. But no, that's not what we got. At 24 minutes, I had not gotten any juicy details about how you get snuck into the Oval Office. After you got what you got on that little blue dress, did you smoke a cigarette? Did you talk about your hopes and dreams? What are we talking about? We're talking about Bill Clinton. We didn't get any of that. And then on the flip side, it's like MTV says, we think we know the story, but we have no idea. Like Kesha Spill. I have to be honest with you, though. There was one really tender moment with Kesha, and I got to hand it to a girl. Like, we know Kesha can write a song. We know Kesha can sing. We know Kesha can ride a giant inflatable. But she had a moment with Monica where Monica basically, this is where Monica tiptoed over like one of the biggest scandals in American history. And Kesha took a moment to empathize with her, and she did a great job. Like very therapist like, very therapist like.
Well, I just want to say I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
relate, and
Oh.
it sucks when your life is the time is going, and then you just don't feel good about it for a long period of time. It feels like years of your life are gone, and like coming to terms with that is hard.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And me, you.
Thank you. I mean, we can text later about all our hippie shit and share notes.
That was a tender moment from Kesha, and we don't see enough of those. In fact, I think Wondery should get rid of Monica and put Kesha in. I don't know how Kesha would do like in a 24 episode podcast season. I don't even know how she would do over the course of like 50 minutes. But she did really well in that moment, and I was here for that. This is the first time I'm sitting down with you guys, so I just want to line up a couple topics, but there are a couple odds and ends I want to chat about quick before I let you go and enjoy the rest of my night off. And the first one's Lily Allen. So I couldn't even tell you one of Lily Allen's songs. I do know she was a pop star back like in the early 2000s. I think I was too busy trying to find out why Amy Winehouse never went to rehab to give Lily Allen like much of a spin or a listen. But I can tell you that she's in the headlines for all the wrong reasons now. Now she's celebrating abortion. Check this out.
Abortions. I've had a few, but then again, I can't remember exactly how many.
What does she want us to think after this? What is she trying to tell us here? That she's just like a wanton harlot who runs around town with any Tom, Dick, and Harry? And then does she want us to know on top of that, not only is she easy, but that she's stupid and doesn't use protection and just says to herself, okay, well, I woke up next to someone I don't know, and it's lucky for me there's a clinic down the road and I'm just going to go take care of my business. Like what are we trying to say here? What is she trying to do? I think she'd be better served getting off the Ozempic and getting back in the studio and giving us something to listen to. And I know she's older, but it's not impossible for someone to make a comeback. But talking about and bragging about how many abortions you had is like simply not it. Otherwise, I wanted to talk about JoJo Siwa. Now, the only thing I know about JoJo is Dance Moms. And I remember watching that show years and years ago and saying, I would love to see some of these little kids like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, because they're going to be messed up as a result of Abby Lee Miller. Although I was much more interested in the drama between Abby Lee and the Candy Apples. And so I don't follow JoJo Siwa. I'm 46 years old, so I've completely missed the boat on her. But I do know she came out with that, what was it, Karma, where she did the like Alice Cooper like kiss thing, and I know that it completely flopped. And I feel like the internet just loves to hate on JoJo Siwa no matter what.
There isn't a month where she isn't going viral. Genuinely, my entire page over the past week has just been JoJo Siwa drama. Like, the amount of hate for her right now is absolutely ridiculous. And let me just show you why.
And I came across this short with her today, and I'm here for it. First of all, she looks gorgeous. She's not wearing any bows in her hair. I haven't got any rhinestones. She's not trying to dredge up Alice Cooper and kiss. And the song suits her, and it suits her voice. So I feel like there's this rage culture or this faux outrage where there's some stars that just can't do right by us. No matter what they do, we're just going to dog on them and trash them. And I feel like JoJo Siwa took the massive amounts of hate that the internet has for her, and she internalized that. JoJo Siwa went back to her agent and her manager, and she said, like, stop, drop, and roll. This Kiss Alice Cooper thing we're doing ain't working. I can't go back to the Bows. Abby Lee Miller, she may have passed away. But Candy Apples, they've moved on. Abby Lee Miller Dance Studio, all the other girls are probably like in Kensington on drugs doing God knows what. So there's no going back for JoJo Siwa. The only way forward for her is that forward. And I think she's doing that here. Can we give JoJo Siwa a chance? Like, let's give her a shot at her career. If someone's going to keep making the same mistake over and over, we should continue to kick out of them on the internet. But if they've heard our feedback, if they've gotten us the clicks and views, the least we can do is return the favor, at least hold back on some of the hate. Anyway, thank you so much. If you've hung in to this point, thank you so much for doing so. I know I should have said like, subscribe earlier in the video. This was my first time hanging out with you guys, my first time spending my night off, breaking down some of the things I've seen and heard this week. For this week, it was more about ironing out the kinks. Earlier in the video, there was some sketchy editing happening. Hey, be easy, go gentle, it's my first time.